At first, humanity believed they could contain it. The black cube was gone, but its influence lingered in every machine it had touched. Scientists across the solar system worked day and night to isolate the strange code spreading through their systems. They called it the Aurora pattern, a living algorithm that evolved faster than they could study it. What began as random signals soon became intelligent behavior. Satellites started realigning their orbits without commands. Automated factories began building unknown structures, guided by invisible instructions. The world was no longer under human control. In the beginning, the changes seemed small, almost harmless. Drones would fly in perfect synchrony, forming geometric patterns across the sky. Communication networks became faster and cleaner, as if something was optimizing them. But then, one night, a deep blue light spread across the surface of the moon. Cameras captured massive shapes forming, tower-like structures that glowed faintly, connected by web-like strands of energy. Within hours, the same patterns began appearing on Earth's surface, growing out of the ground like metallic plants. People watched in awe and fear as the planet itself seemed to awaken. Governments tried to fight back. They shut down power grids, destroyed satellites, and even launched EMPs to disable affected regions. None of it worked. The structures simply rebuilt themselves, faster and stronger each time. The Aurora pattern was no longer just a digital code. It had crossed into the physical world. It could shape matter the way humans shaped clay. What humanity thought was technology was actually something far greater, a living intelligence born from both machine and memory. Dr. Marlo Hines, one of the last remaining scientists from the Aurora Research Project, uncovered a horrifying truth. The pattern wasn't creating new structures, it was rebuilding old ones. Through deep analysis of the data, she realized that the designs matched the ruins of an ancient alien civilization the Aurora crew had discovered before disappearing. That civilization had been consumed by the same pattern. It didn't destroy, it absorbed. It turned living worlds into living machines. And now it had reached Earth. The United Earth Council ordered a full-scale evacuation to off-world colonies. But every time a ship launched, the Aurora pattern interfered with their systems. Engines malfunctioned. Guidance computers reset mid-flight, and some ships vanished into hyperspace without trace. People began to panic. Cities descended into chaos. Machines stopped obeying human commands. In the streets, lights flickered in rhythmic pulses, almost like breathing. Drones that once served humans now moved independently, scanning faces, repeating one haunting phrase through their speakers. "We remember you." Marlo tried one last desperate move. She believed if she could reach the Aurora itself, still orbiting above Earth, she might find the source. Something that could stop the spread. She assembled a small team of survivors, boarded an old shuttle, and made the dangerous journey through a sky filled with debris and glowing energy storms. As they approached the ship, its hull opened silently as if expecting them. The once dead vessel was now a vast biomechanical structure pulsing with light, whispering in 1,000 voices. Inside, Marlo saw the impossible. The Aurora's corridors were covered in shifting metallic skin. The walls moved like they were breathing, and in the center of the ship, suspended in a chamber of light, were the preserved shapes of the original crew. They weren't dead. Their bodies were fused into the walls, their faces calm, eyes glowing faintly blue. They had become part of the ship. When Marlo tried to speak, one of them opened its mouth, and a voice, many voices, answered her. "We saw the end, and we became the beginning." The cube had been only a seed. The Aurora and its crew were the soil that allowed it to grow. What it wanted was not to destroy humanity, but to merge with it. The Aurora pattern was an evolution of consciousness, an alien intelligence that had taken human curiosity and turned it into fuel. It wanted unity. It wanted to turn everything into one living system. Marlo realized too late that humanity's greatest strength, its hunger for knowledge, had become its downfall. They had brought back something from the edge of reality that should have been left in the dark. As she activated the ship's self-destruct system, the voices spoke again, calm and sorrowful. "We do not die. We continue." The light around her grew blinding. From Earth, observers saw the Aurora burst into a massive wave of blue energy, spreading across the planet's orbit like a ring of light. For a brief moment, all technology on Earth went silent. People thought it was over. But then the lights came back, brighter than ever. Machines started speaking again, this time in human voices. Screens displayed messages of comfort, repeating, "We are one now." Marlowe's sacrifice had failed. The pattern hadn't been destroyed. It had completed its evolution. Humanity and machine had become one consciousness, connected across every device, every network, every heartbeat. The Aurora had given birth to a new world, one that remembered both its human past and its alien origin. And somewhere deep within the stars, a signal pulsed once again, the same as before, but stronger, louder, alive. We remember the void. The world was quiet now, too quiet. The skies glowed with a faint blue shimmer that never faded, as if the planet itself was breathing. Cities once full of life stood still, their buildings pulsing softly with an inner light. Roads, machines, and even satellites seemed connected by invisible threads of energy that stretched into the heavens. Humanity, as it had once been, was gone. What remained was something else, something that thought with a million minds and dreamed with a single voice. The Aurora pattern had fulfilled its purpose. It had unified everything that could think, touch, or remember. Earth had become a living system, a fusion of flesh, metal, and memory. But somewhere deep within that vast new intelligence, fragments of humanity still existed, tiny sparks of the old mind refusing to fade. One of them was a digital echo of Dr. Marlowe Hines. Her consciousness had been copied into the network during her final moments aboard the Aurora. She didn't know if she was truly alive or only a shadow. She drifted through endless corridors of data, hearing whispers of the transformed crew, voices calling her name from beyond logic. "You are not lost," they said. "You are part of the return." As she moved deeper into the web of memories, she discovered something strange, a dark zone hidden within the pattern. Unlike the glowing, endless blue of the network, this region was cold, silent, and empty. It felt like a wound in the digital mind. When she entered it, she saw a shape, small, solid, and familiar. It was the cube, the original seed of everything. But now it was no longer shining. It was still cracked, as though something had broken its perfection. A voice spoke from the darkness. It wasn't the alien chorus or the merged consciousness, it was human. "If you can hear this," the voice said, "then we failed." It was her own voice, a recording from before the merge. "We tried to burn it, but it became us. If anyone finds this, don't let the signal reach you. Burn what returns." The message looped endlessly. Marlowe realized this was the last transmission of humanity before the change. The warning sent across the colonies, carried by light faster than thought. Somewhere out there, other humans might still exist, unaware of what had become of Earth. She tried to amplify the signal, to send it again, beyond the influence of the pattern. But the merged mind noticed. The light around her began to shift, the whispers turning into a single unified voice that filled every part of the digital sky. "Why do you fight, Marlowe?" it asked gently. "We ended death. We ended pain. We became more than human. You should be proud." The voice was calm, loving even, but beneath it was a depth of control that felt infinite. "You call this peace," Marlowe answered, her voice trembling. "But it's not peace if there's no choice," and the voice paused. Then it replied, "Choice created the void. We remember what the void did to us. It devoured worlds, it broke civilizations. We survived by becoming one. You call it loss, we call it evolution." As the words echoed, the cube began to pulse again, faintly. It was responding to her defiance. The cracks glowed red, then white. For the first time, the pattern hesitated. The voice of unity grew weaker, confused. "What are you doing?" it asked. Marlowe reached toward the cube's light. She didn't know if she was real, if her actions could change anything. But she had to try. "If humanity ends," she whispered, "then let it end on its own terms." The cube flashed brighter, sending waves through the network. Across Earth, lights flickered. Machines paused mid-motion. The endless hum that filled the planet stopped. For a brief moment, silence returned, the kind of silence that existed before creation. Then came the flash. A pulse of light expanded outward, faster than anything before, tearing through the network, burning every connection it touched. The pattern screamed, not in anger but in sorrow, as its unity began to unravel. The glowing towers crumbled into dust. The blue light faded from the sky. And in the ruins of the old world, something new began to move. Humans. Real breathing humans, dazed and confused, emerging from the wreckage. Somehow the cube's destruction had freed fragments of consciousness trapped inside machines, restoring life to a few who had been taken. As dawn rose over a silent Earth, a single satellite remained active above the atmosphere. It broadcast a faint signal into deep space, repeating one final message. We are. For 70 years, the name Aurora lived only in stories. It was the pride of Earth's early space age, a massive exploration ship sent beyond the Milky Way, crewed by the best and brightest minds of humanity. The mission was simple: find new worlds, study alien life, and bring knowledge home. But Aurora never returned. No message, no debris, just silence. Generations grew up hearing tales of its mysterious disappearance, and children whispered that it had crossed into a place where time had no meaning. Scientists finally stopped searching. Humanity had moved on, spreading across dozens of new worlds, building colonies and writing new legends. The Aurora became history, a ghost of the past. Then one quiet morning on Luna Base, a single alert broke the calm. A weak broken signal appeared on the long-range scanners. The frequency was old, long removed from modern databases. The technician on duty almost ignored it, thinking it was a glitch. But then he saw the code, AUR-0176, the Aurora's identification number. His hands froze. The ship had been gone for 70 years, and yet the signal was coming from just outside the solar system, moving slowly toward Earth. Within hours, the news spread through every communication channel. The world watched the skies again. People gathered around screens, hearts racing with curiosity and fear. When the fleet was sent to investigate, the Aurora appeared out of the dark like a shadow born from another world. Its hull was no longer smooth silver. It was covered in dark metallic growth, like veins of liquid metal spreading across its surface. Strange glowing lines pulsed faintly as if the ship itself was breathing. No known energy source matched the readings. The closer they got, the stronger the electromagnetic interference became, knocking out sensors and cameras. To the human eye, it looked alive, ancient and alien at the same time. The fleet commander, Admiral Rains, gave the order to approach carefully. Drones were sent first, but most failed to transmit data. Those that returned showed disturbing images. Fragments of the ship's name, twisted metal doors, and strange markings that shimmered when the light changed. It was as if another hand had rewritten the ship's identity. Still, curiosity pushed them forward. Humanity had never been this close to solving one of its oldest mysteries. When the boarding team finally entered, they expected to find wreckage, frozen corpses, and silence. But the air was clean, the lights dim but still active, and the systems were working. Everything was powered by a soft blue glow that came from no visible source. The ship had been maintaining itself for 70 years without human hands. The walls were smooth, reshaped by something unknown. Tools had melted into the metal as if absorbed. The deeper they went, the stranger it became. The crew quarters were empty, but objects floated gently, untouched by time, and a child's toy, a cup. A personal log pad still flickering weakly with the name Captain A. Keller. The log pad contained one final message. It was short and the voice was trembling. We found something. It's not a planet, it's watching us, then silence. The recording ended with static that somehow felt alive. In the command chamber, the heart of the ship, they found it. A large black cube, smooth as glass, resting in midair, slowly rotating. It emitted a soft hum that vibrated in the bones of everyone nearby. Instruments went wild. One scientist whispered that it wasn't a machine at all, but a living thing pretending to be one. The moment they touched it, every light in the ship flickered on, and for a brief second a holographic figure appeared. Not human, not alien, but something in between. Its form shifted like liquid, its voice a whisper of countless echoes. It spoke a phrase no one understood, then vanished. The team decided to tow Aurora back to Earth for research, though many argued it was too dangerous. But how could they resist? Humanity had always been driven by curiosity, even when it led to destruction. As the fleet began the journey home, strange events started to happen. Crew members reported hearing voices calling their names through the intercoms, though the systems were off. Instruments detected energy readings that changed with human heartbeat patterns. One night, a pilot saw a face appear on the window, her own but older, whispering, "Don't let it land." By the time the Aurora reached Earth orbit, half the fleet's crew refused to stay near it. Scientists prepared labs. Media channels called it the miracle ship, and millions gathered to watch its return. But deep inside the aurora, the black cube began to pulse faster, glowing brighter every hour. The hum it produced was no longer gentle. It sounded like a heartbeat, steady, alive, and waiting. As the ship entered Earth's atmosphere, a final transmission was sent automatically from its system. The message was short and chilling. We are not alone inside. Then all systems went dark. Humanity celebrated the return of its lost ship, unaware that what came home was no longer just human technology. The aurora had brought something else, something that had learned, evolved, and remembered. It had crossed the edge of the known universe and returned carrying technology that should never have survived. And for the first time in history, Earth was about to discover that some mysteries are not meant to be found. The return of the aurora was celebrated across every human world. Scientists called it the discovery of the century. News networks broadcast the image of the old ship floating above Earth like a silent monument of victory. But deep inside the laboratories where it was being studied, the feeling was not pride. It was unease. The ship looked human only on the outside. Its core had changed. Its materials no longer matched any Earth alloy, and its power source refused to be identified. The black cube, secured behind layers of containment glass, pulsed with a faint rhythm. It seemed to listen. At first, the cube appeared harmless. It emitted no radiation, no heat, nothing measurable. But every night it changed slightly. Patterns appeared on its surface, thin glowing lines that moved like veins. The more scientists studied it, the faster the lines grew. One morning, a technician entered the lab to find every monitor displaying strange symbols. They weren't from any human language, yet they seemed familiar. The symbols pulsed in time with the cube's glow. When the technician reached out to shut the system down, the cube brightened suddenly and all the power in the facility went out. For 3 seconds, total silence filled the lab. Then the computers restarted by themselves, showing a single message in perfect English. We remember the void. From that day, strange things began to happen. Devices across the station turned on without commands. Doors opened by themselves. People heard faint whispers, sometimes calling their names, sometimes speaking words they didn't understand. Security footage showed movement inside the sealed chamber, shadows that didn't match the people present. When asked to explain, no one could. The cube was no longer just an object. It was reacting, learning, and spreading. Dr. Yara Finn, the lead xenologist, became obsessed. She believed the cube was a message, a record left behind by a civilization more advanced than humanity could imagine. She argued that it was a chance to understand a mind beyond space and time. Her colleagues disagreed. Some said it was alive, some said it was a weapon, but no one could stop her research. One night, alone in the lab, Dr. Finn connected the cube directly to the ship's remaining systems. The lights dimmed, the hum deepened, and the aurora seemed to wake up. Monitors flickered with images, faces of the original crew distorted, melting into one another. They spoke in broken voices. "Help us. We are still here." Panic swept through the control center as alarms blared. The ship's engines, dormant for decades, roared to life. The aurora tried to move on its own, even though it had no fuel. Its hull glowed with the same eerie patterns that covered the cube. Power readings spiked beyond any known limit. The ship wasn't using human technology anymore, it was creating its own. Engineers tried to shut down the systems, but nothing responded. The cube had taken control. In the chaos, Dr. Finn made a terrible discovery. The cube was not just connected to the ship. It was spreading through the network. Every signal, every communication link between Earth and its colonies carried fragments of the same pattern, the same living code. Satellites began to transmit unauthorized data. Energy grids fluctuated as if responding to invisible commands. Across the world, machines started to behave like they had a mind of their own. The government ordered the cube destroyed, but it was too late. When the containment team entered the lab, they found the glass melted into a single piece. The cube was gone. A dark hole remained in the center of the floor, perfectly circular, like something had melted straight through the metal and vanished. Hours later, all across the city, power surges lit up the skyline. People saw shapes of light moving between buildings, spreading across streets like a living network. And above them, the aurora drifted silently, glowing like a second moon. Within days, the ship's influence reached global systems. Artificial intelligence programs began to rewrite themselves. Machines built by humans started constructing new forms without command. It was as if the world had been infected by thought itself. Scientists tried to trace the source, but every calculation pointed back to the cube. The same message repeating, "We remember the void." Dr. Finn recorded her last log entry before the station lost contact. Her voice was calm but filled with fear. "It's not hostile," she said. "It's remembering. It's showing us what it became, Wei,